Where did you break down, mate?
At home, of all places. Yeah, the power steering went.
Oh. Just what
I was like, do I wrestle with it and try the whole way here? But yeah. I sent that message. I was like, I'm almost certain I'll be there. But what I didn't want to do is last minute to say something, you know, I start managing expectations.
I just didn't want,
isn't it?
Yeah, I would never want anyone to sort of kill themselves. Sort of, not literally, but put yourself under too much pressure to sort of.
I was pretty sure it wouldn't be an issue. But when you rely on the trains to do it.
Yeah. Where have you come in from?
Preston.
How long does that take? About an hour?
About an hour, yeah.
Cool. Right. As Gary Neville would say, Patrick Blain. Pat or Patrick?
Either.
Don't care.
There was another Patrick infiltrated my my workplace recently, so I dropped it to Pat, and then I thought, oh, why not? It's easier.
Fair enough.
3 letters, less letters to type, less letters to remember.
So from what I've pulled from your LinkedIn, you're a digital transformation and agile delivery specialist, and you love finding the most effective and efficient ways to bring value. This ranges from driving enterprise-level agile and digital transformation to setting individual teams up for success and enabling them to do their best work. Now, you were a bit of a glitch in my matrix, because one of the things I sometimes do is pull LinkedIn posts that intrigue me from people and say, what triggered that? What I like about you and what I want to dive into is you're one of the people who you don't have to sing and shout. By the looks of it, you don't have to sing and shout on LinkedIn about the great work that you're doing. Whereas people like me have to do that to justify their existence. So I want to know, like, I've had a look at your career history, swimming instructor. You worked in FDM for a while.
I did.
So did I. You've had one of the most varied sort of career paths I've seen. Like, what's going on? How did you get to the point of sitting here today?
And I'll flip that LinkedIn question back on you shortly as well, because I think it's different purposes, really, isn't it? But so I guess I'm one of those weird people who tends to really like work, whatever it is I do. I've done some jobs that I don't like, don't get me wrong, and try and move on from them fairly swiftly. But most of what I've ended up doing, even if it's washing up pots in a restaurant or something, you know, as 13 years old, I've always quite enjoyed it. So I guess back to the early days of the career then, I was a competitive swimmer myself, and I got injured. Just before I got injured, I was starting down the coaching route as well. Soon realised I was a much better coach than competitive swimmer. Really enjoyed that, really enjoyed the whole kind of learning experience of, okay, well, I know how to swim, but I don't really know how to impart that onto other people who maybe need tweaks or anything like that. And the whole swimming thing was, I guess, a sideline career while I was at school, sixth form, uni, that kind of thing. Certainly at times it was the more dominant thing. You know, I'd probably pay more attention to that than I would my sixth form or my uni. But I absolutely loved it, really enjoyed. Even, you know, if we talk about that LinkedIn summary, I think it was, wasn't it? Like, one of the things in anything I've done, I love eliminating waste and just finding the easiest way to do something. So whether that's adjusting a swimmer's technique, so they're putting in less effort for the same result, or you know, less effort for you know, a faster time, or whatever it is. I just hate the idea of wasted effort and people spending effort on something that it doesn't need to be spent on. I think if we could somehow apply that to everyone in the world, think about all the energy and effort that people can spend on things if it was spent in the best way, just think where we'd be. So I'm trying to play my little part on that, as I say, whether it's a swimming technique, whether it's something at work, you know, with an individual team or with a wider organization. Just the thing that really gets me going is eliminating waste and just making things as easy as they can be without a drop in quality or a drop in anything like that. So that's always been way before this career path. That's always been one of the things that's kind of guided me and motivated me. So really enjoyed the swimming. Got to work with you know, people their first time in the swimming pool at 2 years old, and learning how to interact with kids, which I had no idea how to do. I knew all the theory behind it of what the correct technique looked like, but how to actually engage with a 2-year-old before having kids myself was a foreign language, basically.
Still is to me.
That's why still is to me, and I've got two. But no, so that end of the spectrum up to working with, now Olympic gold medalist, multiple time Commonwealth gold medalist.
Are you still doing the swimming coaching?
No, not so much. So I got to a point with that, and I hope this doesn't sound arrogant or anything like that, but I got to a point where I was really happy and confident with where I was at. And a lot of other sessions, whether it be, a lesson for the small kids or a hard training session for the, the elite athletes or anything in between. Just a great lack of consistency, I guess, and a great range of the quality of sessions that there was. So I could feel like I've just delivered what, in my view, a session I was really happy with, one that I thought was quite good. And then you just look around and it's not necessarily the same everywhere. As I say, I hope that doesn't come across in the wrong way, but you can recognize it sometimes, can't you? So it felt like my effort wasn't being best channeled into individual teams and individual squads. So at some point in time, I definitely want to get back to that. But I got a bit frustrated with that industry because it was... I felt it was broken in terms of the way teachers are taught to teach. A bit of a tongue twister there. Or, the way you get your qualifications and the way you learn how to do it. There's, in my humble view, certain key things missing from that. And I didn't know what to do about it. Okay. So I wanted to kind of leave that behind for a bit, go off on this journey that I'm on now, and at some point return to swimming with the skill set where, okay, I know what the problem is and I know what to do about it as well. So yeah, it's always kind of on the radar as something I'd absolutely love to go back to. It's close to my heart. I still swim myself.
I was going to say, so you've been watching the Olympics the last
Yeah. It's always a spectacle, isn't it? So.
You've got a bit of the Mark Fosters about you, haven't you?
I'll take it. It could be worse. Yeah.
So the whole Agile thing, I suppose, you
touched on it a bit there yourself. Similar journey. Started off on what's somewhat likened to a graduate scheme, where you get a few months academy-based training.
Was that post-uni, or did you just
post-uni? Yeah. I think you were ex-forces, right? So yours was probably slightly different, but a few months academy-based training, and then placed on site with a client for a few years. And that was a very deliberate first step off the back end of the swimming journey, because as I say, I got to this point where I was frustrated by what I perceived to be a bit of a broken industry, but I didn't know how to fix it. Yeah. So I thought, okay, well, what can I do to get the skills to fix it? And the first step for me, what seemed like a good first stepping stone, was business analysis. It's about understanding as is to be, about kind of bridging that gap. So yeah, I thought, well, let's see what this is all about. True to form, really enjoyed it. Really just loved understanding more about that role. You can read so much online, but until you actually get into it and you're doing it out in the wild, all the different nuances, and with it being such a varied role, I think you can never really get bored of it. There's always something new, and even if it's something you're already doing, there's probably a new way of doing it that you can play around with. So I've always done that. Tried to constantly add to the tool bag. So yeah, business analysis, started out as an analyst at Department for Work and Pensions, which at the time I was thinking, okay, big government body, probably going to be, it is what it is. But I was actually really pleasantly surprised by how far along the journey they were, and how kind of in tune to a lot of things they were, and also the skill level and the aptitude of the people who were there. Very, very talented people, very generous with their time, which was huge to me, and especially in those early stages of me trying to figure it all out. So yeah, love the business analysis side of things. Started branching out a little bit into delivery, various bits and pieces, and the product ownership side as well. I've always been quite an advocate for blurring the lines between, who does what, and it doesn't have to be, okay, my job description says I do A, B, and C, and yours says you do D, E, and F. So we're going to stick to that rigidly. I think there's time and place for that, and it doesn't always work to blur the lines, but where it does, I like just branching out a little bit and trying to become more rounded myself, as well as, offer something to the team at the time as well. So yeah, started out as a kind of dedicated business analyst, and then branched out here and there along the way. Yeah.
And you obviously don't name the company or whatever, but what are you doing now? Like, where do you find yourself now? Like, what's the role you're playing at the moment?
Yeah, so the role I'm playing at the moment is Agile Delivery Manager.
Okay. Interesting.
Which is an interesting job title, that's for sure. At a company who, are we not allowed? Should we? Shouldn't we?
It's up to you. I just don't want to.
No, fair enough. So the company, this is one where
it might be a HR nightmare for you. Sometimes, just as a bit of a tangent, sometimes people have to jump through so many hoops, and I have to send them the video. They then have to send the video to HR, and it's not exactly what we're talking about. It's a very vanilla subject, you know what I mean? Yeah. We're not talking about Ted Bundy or anything like that.
I'll leave it out then. But what I will say is I've been very fortunate in these last few years of my career to work for companies that really resonate with me on a personal level in terms of what their mission is. And, as I say, that kind of aligns with me and what I believe in.
Just go on Patrick's LinkedIn. You can see the companies that he works for.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's been a few along the way where I've never really got out of bed and think, you know what, I really want to work in insurance. But I've worked in insurance. So, we've got that aspect of it as well. But these past few years have been very fortunate to manage to align myself with companies who I really believe in what they're doing. So at the minute, I work for a sustainable tech company. Okay. They do various things. A lot of it is chemical engineering, which is way over my head. But the future friendly aspect of that is they're market leaders in, for example, engineering chemicals with low carbon, or no offset. Very very environmentally friendly way of doing things. They do a lot of things regarding fuel, different types of fuel, different types of batteries. Just very green based and very, as I say, future friendly. Which especially it's always been something that's been a bit of a thing in my mind, but especially since having kids, that just ramped up to 10. My whole drive to do things sustainably, really.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me now, Agile Delivery Manager at a unnamed, essentially, like I say, a green tech company, if you will.
Fair enough. Agile Delivery Manager. I'm sure we can talk about that, but in general, what does agile mean to you? Like when I say that, what springs to mind?
So I think even if forgetting about this specific line of work, I think if you think about an agile athlete, what are they? What does that mean? And I think that encapsulates a big part of, there's a big parallel there in terms of, if I think of an agile athlete as someone who can be moving at pace, but then change direction without breaking their ankle, without too much issue. So someone who can effectively change what they're doing at pace, as I say, without derailing everything else. And I think that's probably one of the key things that's important to me about agility. There's probably 10, 20 different aspects to it that you could identify with to different levels. But that one for me, certainly the ability to respond to change is a big one. And I guess in line with that is learning as you go along, and not making assumptions, just, doing things that are based on where you can, based on research or insights, and not just, well, that manager wants it to work in this way, so we're going to do it that way. So that's certainly a big aspect of it for me. And then I think, again, what kind of feeds into that is the not breaking any ground here, but start off with something small, figure out if it works, and then build on it from there. So
you say you're not breaking any ground, but I think sometimes people spend so much time looking outside the box, they forget what's in the box.
True.
So,
and very true. I think it's very easy for people to get sidetracked or to go off on certain tangents in their mind and think this is what's important here, and maybe it is, but my view, I think that's kind of the core of it. I'm sure I'm missing bits off there as well, but yeah, I think they're some of the key aspects of it for me.
So from what you've seen, sorry, I should have asked this, are you contractor or perm at the moment?
Perm at the moment. Permanent.
So from your sort of career so far, where have you seen organizations go, I won't say wrong, but what challenges have you seen in organization in regard to agility, and what have been the reasons for that? And
so as much as I say we're not breaking any ground, I think for two professionals to talk about it isn't breaking any ground. Say agility is about starting small and going from there. But I've been astonished, to be honest, about how often things like that are missed. And I thought getting out into this line of work, I was very in my first few years, certainly probably first 4 or so years, completely obsessed. So if I wasn't working, I was reading about something to do with work or attending a meetup, or everything was work. I was just so enveloped, is that the word? Infatuated with this whole world, and just want, a real thirst for more knowledge and to get better myself. So I spent a long time really building up what I viewed to be quite an advanced skill set on top of the basics, and thinking, okay, I'm really looking forward to an opportunity to try out this thing.
Yeah.
And I've just been really surprised by how often the basics are missing, like the very, very basics, not even, your day 2 stuff, but your day 1 things, I think is really common to not be set up to work in that way, but a lot of the time think they are. I think that's where it becomes even more challenging.
What are those day 1 things?
So day 1 things, I guess probably a lot of what we just talked about earlier, where you say, what does agility mean? I think very basic things in terms of how you approach a piece of work is, do you have a 2-year long runway of things that have to be done within those 2 years? Do you have a loose idea of things that are fluid and will change along the way as you learn more? Do you have the processes and the organizational structure? That's been a big one that I found, that I think all bar 2 of the places that I've worked have always needed some kind of smoothing out of that process. So, back to the earlier thing of what drives me is less wasted effort.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it can be an uphill battle. You can do some quite good things within an individual team, but then once you look wider than that, is, okay, how do we get what this team has produced out there into the big bad world? If there's friction every time, that's maybe not necessarily a day 1 thing. I guess on the theory side it would be, because you want to be able to release things at speed, and just so often it's not geared up to be that way. You may have the way teams or projects or work streams are funded, which isn't conducive to what I view as the best way of doing things, or the most effective way of doing things. A lot of the time teams don't have the skills that they need themselves, so they have external teams that they depend on, which we all start somewhere. That's not the problem. I think the issue is where there's no path to reducing or removing that dependency, and just things like that I certainly naively thought when I started out, okay, that will be fairly basic, easy stuff, and then we'll get on to some of this cool, exciting, advanced stuff. And there's only been a couple of times where I've got to the cool, exciting, advanced stuff, because I think so much of it is, okay, let's make sure we're starting off from a strong position at the foundations, because there's no point, in my view, doing loads of really kind of weird and wacky, wonderful things on the top end of something if actually the foundations aren't there.
No, cool. It sort of leads on to it really, but what 3 ingredients do you think an organization needs to really get the benefits of Agile or agility?
Ooh, I like that. 3 ingredients to get the benefit. 3, yeah. So I guess one of them we've talked about there just at the end would be, having everything in place from the whole pipeline, from an idea in someone's head to being something that's out there in the big bad world, having that as smooth as possible without, a 2-week wait time while it goes to a change approval board. And then, all those kinds of things, I think, are not conducive. So definitely ingredient number, not necessarily in priority order, but the first one that comes to mind would be having processes and systems in place that enable you to push things out there when you're happy that they're all right. I'm not talking about, developers just finished off writing some code, let's push that out into prod. Obviously you have your own quality controls within the team, but then not having too many, if any, external blockers in the way from that being ready to that going out.
I want to minimize decision latency.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess that would be an ingredient. Another ingredient as well, I think I probably glossed over a little bit on that last one, is if I think just around pipelines in general. So it could be a requirements pipeline. Where are you getting your ideas from, and do they go through any level of rigor before they arrive at the team? Do they, what's the process once it comes to the team? Do you have an analyst who will break it down and get it ready for a developer to pick up? Or, what is that process? Because quite often what I've seen as well is there's inefficiencies in that pipeline at any stage of it. And then, of course, once you've got the requirements locked in, you're then looking at the build and delivery pipelines as well, which again, I think very often need attention, need a lot of work to get to a position where you can do things fairly easily and resistance free. So I think that would be another ingredient. I think it almost feels like a bit of a cop out to say this, but just the open mind and the willingness to adapt and to not think you know best and to react to what's actually happening in front of you. You could think you've got the best product anyone's ever thought of, and then you build it, you put it out there, people don't like it. You got to accept that and listen to why they don't like it, or do something about it instead of just thinking, oh no, they're wrong, we'll stick to this. And again, it's surprising how many times I've seen that. It almost sounds like, well, why would you say that? No one's going to do that. But it's unfortunately somewhat common.
No. I mean, you strike me as quite a cool bloke. I mean,
I'll take that. Thank you.
I think I'm intrigued to this, what the answer's going to be to this question based on what you've already said about swimming and stuff. What would you say people should focus on outside of the Agile bubble to sort of help them? Because there's a lot of focus, like you alluded to. You read every book, you read every, read every paper. Having done that, is there anything outside of like the Agile bubble that you think actually that's really helped me as well?
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of very close overlap with, a lot of things that maybe don't say the words Agile, but actually you read it or listen to it or experience it and you think actually that's pretty much it. The basic things like growth mindset, I think, even though I say it doesn't have Agile on the labeling, a lot of it
it's on the old slide though, isn't it? Growth mindset and fixed mindset. It's on every Agile slide.
Yeah. And I guess to your point there, and this is probably more of an Agile specific thing, but it is that mindset. I think, if you have that, if you're not married to any particular model or framework or way of doing things, and you just have that mindset of, okay, what at a conceptual level, what do we want to achieve, or how do we want to do it? I think it can very easily, that mindset piece can very easily get lost in the tools and techniques and the practices and the things that come along the way. I guess I don't have a great answer, to be honest, for what else outside of that bubble. I guess things personally for me that I found really helpful as I've started to get older is being quite mindful and doing things for the mind that, you know, I never really felt the need to as a kid, and to some extent don't really feel the need to as an adult, but you want to have that mental resilience and, you know, a strong mind to deal with things for if something would come along to knock you off, that you're more robust mentally to deal with that and to get back on track. So I've certainly spent a lot of time trying to become more mindful and trying to just have a stronger willpower and, you know, all those kinds of things, which I guess is quite different from your traditional, what the Agile textbook would tell you. But I've certainly found really helpful.
What do you mean by that? Sorry, like I meant like what, being more resilient in the workplace? Like what do you, I don't know, sign up to 50Ks? Do you think you need to like put yourself through some sort of like, what
a bit of everything really. So I'll take the seem like quite a cool guy. I'll take that, and that's going top of my CV. But in all honesty, I'm just a weirdo. So I do all sorts of odd things, and one of them that I think has helped with that mental resilience side is I fast for Ramadan every year. So I'm not religious, but I have a lot of friends who are. I was working at one point in time on a team of 20 people, 18 were Muslim, and then there was me and a Sikh. So Ramadan came around. I like talking about this kind of thing and exploring ideas. You know, I'm quite big on evolution, and I had a colleague there, a tester while I was a business analyst, who was very wise beyond his years, very insightful Muslim who could really articulate certain things and really understood a lot about, you know, the religion itself, about the Quran and everything like that. So started fasting just as a challenge, really, and a sign of solidarity, I guess, as well, which is very tricky. It's hard, but it brings along a lot of benefits as well. So things like that, I think other mindful things, basic things like meditating, flotation tanks, just it sounds almost like a bit of a weird thing to say, and I'll leave my kids out of this generalization for a second, but I made a decision about 5 years ago to not lie to anyone about anything ever. And it was really freeing. You know, it's just my policy now, as I say, slight exception with the kids, with Santa Claus and things like that, which is honestly something I struggle with quite a lot in trying to walk that line and knowing how to have those interactions with them. But yeah, in terms of adults,
just to interrupt you there, if you are listening to this in the car, bit of a Santa Claus disclaimer. However, if you're listening to this podcast in the car with kids, you need to get a life and put something else on. So we'll, if we've ruined it, that's your own fault for having this on in the car with kids. Yeah, well, give them something else to listen to.
My bad as well. So yeah, I don't know whether I have the heart to tell them that his beard is black. You know, I don't know if I can tell them that just yet. They're quite happy believing it's grey, so we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that did a lot for me mentally. Just a load I didn't realize I was carrying. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't like I wasn't laying loads of elaborate lie webs really all over the place. I got it wrong. Yeah. No, just like even little things, even little white lies or slight mistruths. Just ditched it completely, and now you'll only ever get 100% honesty from me, as I say, unless certain things that I'm trying to work through with the younger generation. But that certainly helped me a lot, and as I say, just headspace more than anything. I think a lot of the time you can have a lot going on, and if you don't compartmentalize it or deal with it, even if it's good stuff, but obviously if it's bad stuff as well, I think you can just. I've certainly felt it where my mind's just felt crowded and not like I've got much space to think or be free or just have that emptiness.
Yeah.
So I forget what the original question was. Sorry, I've probably gone off on
just things outside the Agile bubble.
Yeah.
I mean, these questions are for me, really, just so I can keep it on track. Otherwise, we'd be here for 4 hours. Yeah, I want to dig into this because it's sort of alien in a positive way for me. Because for better or for worse, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. And like I said, I think the majority of people who actually do good work out there don't even bother with it, don't even engage in it. They don't feel like they need to, because quite honestly, they're too busy doing the work. But you're obviously someone who takes in a lot of knowledge, or likes continuous learning and developing yourself. Like, so for me, for you not to be sharing that is mental. Like, so can you, because we've obviously spoken on direct messenger, but then when I was doing research for this, I was like, he's doing great work, but he's giving me nothing here.
Yeah, so sorry about that. To be honest, and again, I hope this doesn't come across in the wrong way. So if it does, I apologize in advance. But a lot of someone such as yourself who use it, you've got a service that you're promoting, and your own company, you're trying to get the word out there on it, and you talk in your own unique way that's quite informal, I guess, and sets the tone for who you are and the type of things you do. So I get it completely for someone such as yourself. And a lot of the things that you post as well, that I've seen are somewhat unique perspectives on maybe an interaction you've had or an experience you've had with the client or whatever the case is. The vast majority of what I see on there though, and maybe it's because of the people I have on there, or maybe it's things I've engaged with in the past. I know there's all sorts of things working behind the scenes to feed you the content they think you want to see. It's all, again, not all, the vast majority of it, I would say, is back to that kind of day one stuff. So someone will write a post, like, oh, my team were experiencing this problem where they were trying to deliver everything all at once. So I did this amazing thing where we broke it down and we focused on one thing at a time.
Yeah. Okay,
and then a bunch of people commenting, oh, great work and stuff. And it for me, while I can certainly gain insight and knowledge and interesting perspectives from that, I think trying to filter through the amount of stuff I have on there that I don't find useful, to find the stuff that I do find useful, it just feels like not a great use of time. And I always tell myself, I use LinkedIn predominantly, when I'm looking for a job or something to that effect, trying to, even if I'm in a job, but trying to learn a new skill or something, I'll use it for that. And I always tell myself, when I am comfortable in a job but I'm not necessarily using it to, build that network, to learn a skill or anything like that, I always say that I'll use it a bit more. And what's your take on it right now? So I've not been on it for a few years.
Right? That one back, haven't you?
Yeah, if I had the Uno reverse card, I'd whip it out. But the thing that I struggle with at it on the minute is, okay, so let's take, for example, a post right now while I am looking for a job that I may want to engage with. It might be, I'm looking for an Agile coach. Here's what I'm looking for. Yeah. A recruiter or a hiring manager posting something out like that. The AI seems a little out of control. There'll always be like a suggestion of a comment I've not seen one that's been helpful. Because it'll just be like, oh, how is Agile coaching useful to the Agile
prompt, you mean?
Yeah, like the AI suggestions that I think, don't get me wrong, I think there's tremendous power in AI. And I think, there's always a learning curve in how to best use it. And I think LinkedIn are early on that journey, as far as I can tell. But it just seems like it's everywhere now. You can't really get away from the AI aspect of it, which I'm not resistant to. But the way it is on that platform right now, I don't think is great. Yeah. But it's mainly the types of conversations that I see on there, as I say, is not that there's anything wrong with this, and I don't mean to demean anyone who does it. But, as I say, posting about fairly basic stuff and then patting each other on the back for it. That just is not how I choose to spend my time right now.
Yeah.
So what's it like for you then? So you've obviously got a different angle, a different purpose to use it for, and it serves you differently.
Yeah. What I would say is, like, I fully respect your way of doing it. And anyone who is just cracking on, I think that's like probably a really good position to be in, because you're not feeding the beast of your ego. And, you're not addicted to the dopamine. I think I treat it a bit like a game. I think I'm always one post away from being kicked off there. And I try and balance that line quite closely. I think if you are there, there's a few ways to think about it. I'm not there to make friends. I've got friends. Don't get me wrong. I've met some brilliant people who have become friends.
Sure.
But I'm not there to make friends. I've got my 3 friends who I have known since I was 15. And I'm quite happy with that. So if someone gives me feedback on something, fine. I'm not there to impress. I'm there to, promote the business, more importantly, actually, promote the people who work with and for the business to try and get eyes on them, which I've tried to be a bit more intentional about over the last year, to stop making it about me and point everyone in the direction of the business. I think people have to be mindful of that if they're freelancing, and we talk about backlog refinement, and in our world, you've got to refine your feed and remove the loudest voices. And True. I'm one of those. I could be one of those voices.
But as I say, your voice is probably one that I want to see, because it's different.
Yeah,
you're not just saying, "Oh, you're not posting about the most basic thing and saying, here's what I did about it."
No, that's very kind.
And everyone pat your back for it.
No, it's very kind. But if you were a freelancer, I'd be saying, well, you don't need me on your feed. You need to be looking for people who are asking for your specific help.
Yeah, fair.
So it's not a personal thing. I've had to unfollow a lot of people, because when they're posting 2, 3, 4 times a day, that's getting in the way of people who go in, I need help, or an organisation saying, have you got X, Y, or Z, or we need this. I just don't take it. I take it as, I take the business seriously, and I never intend to offend anyone. I'll go after ideals and I'll go after things, but I'll never go after people.
Yeah, sure.
I'll never try not to make it personal. Sometimes it might seem that way, but I think it's got to work for you. And you're in a position where you don't need to use it. So all power to people.
So for you, is it somewhat of a necessary evil, or do you enjoy that side of things? Is it, because I think as a platform, it's really powerful. And it's certainly helped me in the past, whether it's meeting people or finding out about things or getting jobs or whatever it is. I think I certainly am a fan of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Broadly speaking, I'm just not posting every week on it.
I tell myself it's a necessary evil, but I'd be like, I must enjoy it, otherwise I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, right. Like you say, if you can kind of have a bit of a game, game in your head, whether that's how far can you push that line, or for as I say, for someone such as yourself who's trying to make a bit of noise about who you are and what you do, you're probably wanting to get as much reach as you can and as much engagement and that kind of things, which I imagine could be quite fun if you were, looking at what's working at the time, what isn't.
You've got to think a lot more, because I haven't got the marketing budget of a big 4 consultancy.
Yeah, sure.
So you've got to. I have to think. I have to think about what's going to gain the most attention.
Yeah,
and some of that's not always plastering Prince Andrew on the back of a digital van in central Manchester in a ballerina's dress. Probably not the best marketing idea I've ever had, but
a memorable one nonetheless.
Yeah, well, not for the good. Yeah, but I think I tip my hat to people who are in your position, who are just cracking on.
Well, thank you. It's probably part of me being, I guess, in line with I said about the kind of mindful move a few years back. I just came off all other social media as well. And don't miss it at all. No. Just it's another thing that's kind of freed me to just have that headspace for other things. Really,
I only use LinkedIn, to be fair. I got rid of Facebook. Can't be arsed with Instagram.
Yeah.
With X, it's just the cesspit, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never been on Twitter, never been on Instagram. I did have a Facebook page and Bebo back in the day.
Oh yeah, just to send your love out to people.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. That's a blast from the past. But it's just not. I know it's very those whole platforms are are designed to keep you on there, right? And to keep you engaged and to make you want to spend time on that platform. So I know how easy it is to spend hours and hours every day on them. So just stay completely away. It's not even a consideration of should I just open up this feed and check on it quickly. It's just not even a thought.
I've never watched that documentary on Netflix about social media, but I heard this on a different podcast the other day. So the pull down and when you pull down your feed, and it refreshes. Right. That's based on gambling. So so in casinos, when they like pull stuff,
right,
or the fruit machines. Basically, it's based on that. Apparently, again, that's secondhand knowledge. I heard it on a podcast, so it may not be true, but it sounded good. So we'll.
But then the opposite end of that spectrum as well is they do like infinite scrolling now, don't they? So it used to you'd see however many posts, and it'd be a load more or a second page or whatever the case was. But now you get a certain distance from the bottom post and it'll load more, so you never get to that point where you're prompted to stop scrolling or you're prompted to do more. So it's just, again, it's very clever what these platforms do. It's just something I don't engage with. I
think you've just got to be mindful that you are the product.
Very much so.
You've got to manage that as best as possible, or not at all. What's next then? What else is on your mind? Is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to get off your chest?
I wouldn't say necessarily anything to plug or get off the chest. I guess in terms of what's next, I came into this line of work, as I say, off the back of swimming and getting to a certain point in that and not knowing how to be more impactful. I came into this career path 8 years ago with a loose 10-year plan to acquire the skills that I would need. And, I absolutely love what I do. Surprise, surprise. Anything around agile delivery, agile coaching, Scrum Mastery, product ownership, anything, all of that. And of course, the digital transformation piece as well. I absolutely love it. But I don't necessarily see me doing it forever. So I'm always open to complete changes in direction or complete new career path. I'm quite open at the minute, I'd say, because I've got to a point where there's definitely still more for me to do in this space, and probably a few more years that I do want to spend doing it to kind of be comfortable leaving it behind. You must have heard the 80-20 rule. And I think with most of the stuff I've done so far, I've probably spent 20% of the time and got that 80%. I'd say I've still got a little bit more in this kind of industry overall, to certainly not to know everything that there is to know, but in terms of the stuff that interests me and that I think is going to benefit me on my onward journey, I think I'm close to that. As I say, I do absolutely love it. So it's not a travesty if I do end up working in this line of work for the rest of my career. I'd enjoy that. But yeah, just fairly, it's not exactly a crossroads, I wouldn't say, but a fairly open juncture where if some interesting role that has absolutely nothing to do with this world comes up, then why not give it a go?
What's on the table, or you just open?
No, I've got a few things that I want to achieve in life. And I think there's multiple different ways to get there. So as I say, for those things that I want to achieve, I'm very much don't have the skills that I need now, much like with the swimming stuff. Yeah, I feel like if I were to go back to the swimming world now, providing it hasn't changed much in the probably 6 or 7 years that I've not been closely involved with it as a coach, I think I would make a much bigger dent than I could have done when I did change career. Whether it would be everything I would want to, I don't know. But I definitely see myself returning to that world at some point. And as I say, a lot of it boils down to wasted effort, people spending effort on not the best way of doing things. And that breaks my heart. That is a central theme, again, for any line of work. Swimming is one that, because I've done it for so long and it was such a big part of my life, that resonates with me right now. But I think the more wasted effort that I can get rid of, the happier I'll be in life. So whichever direction that takes me in, I don't know. But yeah, I'm here for it.
Sounds like the perfect place to end.
Lovely.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Pleasure.
What a chat. What an interesting guy.
I'll take it. Thank you.